Running away with a husband or a wife to start a new life may seem like a romantic idea, but when a couple vanishes without a trace, it only leaves questions and devastation for the ones they've left behind. While a single person going missing can often be confusing, it's much rarer for two people to disappear without leaving behind any clues, and these 5 cases still have investigators and family members baffled. Number 5. In February of 2005, Danielle Imbo and Richard Patrone Jr. were starting a new stage in their lives. The pair, who were in their mid-30s, had known one another for 15 years but had drifted apart after they left school. Both started relationships with other people, and Richard had a daughter and Danielle married Joe Imbo. In the summer of 2004, Danielle had her own child, a little boy named after her husband. Not long after, things soared between Danielle and Joe, and she contacted Richard, who was also single. They began dating as Danielle moved to divorce her husband. However, after only a short time, Danielle broke off the relationship so that she could focus on her son. The pair remained friends, and on the 19th of February, Richard invited Danielle out to see a few bands play. The two met up at a bar on South Street in Philadelphia, where they were chatting and kissing. After 2 hours, Richard offered to drive Danielle home. She had a hair appointment in the morning and would need to be back when her estranged husband brought Joe Jr. home. They left the bar at around 11:45 p.m. in Richard's black 2001 Dodge Dakota pickup. Neither were ever seen again. When Danielle wasn't home for Joe Jr. to drop off their son the following day, a search party ensued. The couple's family, friends, and neighbors assisted police in the search. Danielle's brother even paid for a helicopter search, but there was no trace of them or the vehicle. Richard was supposed to be taking Danielle to her home in New Jersey, but CCTV from the roads that they would have used showed no signs of the truck. They hadn't crossed into New Jersey. Investigators first assumed that Richard must have driven into a body of water. However, searches focused on the Delaware River found no vehicles that matched Richard's. After searches picked up nothing, police realized this was no accident. Someone had intentionally made this couple disappear. Neither Richard nor Danielle were the type to willingly disappear, especially not without their children. There was no evidence of some secret second life, and police found no activity on their bank accounts or phones after the disappearance. Even 15 years later, police and FBI are still searching for answers. Number 4. Connor and Sheila Dwyer vanished on April 30th, 1991. The last sighting of the couple was at a funeral mass at St. Patrick's Church in Cork, Ireland. They left the church in their white Toyota, presumably to go home. It wasn't until almost a month later that they were reported missing. Their absence was likely noticed by their neighbors. Connor was described as an eccentric man, and the couple were well known within the area. They had what was described as a posh vehicle, and one neighbor even remembered Sheila waving from it like a queen. However, it seemed that the neighbors thought the couple must have gone on a spontaneous holiday, as the house was left empty until May 22nd. Sheila's sister, Macy, grew concerned that she hadn't heard from her in almost 3 weeks. The last contact came on May 1st, the day after the last sighting, when Sheila spoke to her sister on the phone. When Macy knocked on the door and received no answer, she called the police. All the Dwyer's belongings were found at the home. There were no signs of a hurried departure, and their personal belongings remained at the house. The only thing out of place was a stash of cash, around $1,000, that was kept in a cookie tin and found intact. It seemed obvious to investigators that the couple hadn't intended to be away from home for very long. Connor and Sheila had no enemies, but Connor did know powerful people. He worked as a chauffeur for a German businessman and millionaire, Fritz Wolf. It's possible some enemy of Wolf may have tried to attack the couple, and German police were also involved in the investigation into the disappearance. Many believe that Connor must have lost control of the car and driven into the river Blackwater. Searches at the time and in the years since produced nothing, though. However, findings in a similar case in the same area 20 years after a man and his car disappeared have given hope that the mystery may soon be solved. Number 3. Camden Sylvia and Michael Sullivan had gone out for an evening joyride when they vanished on November 7th, 1997. They only took with them a set of house keys, their running gear, and a bag that Camden used to take home work from the office. About a week later, having not heard from her daughter for several days, Camden's mother visited the loft apartment the couple rented. She found it abandoned, though all of their belongings had been left behind. Suspicion immediately fell on the couple's landlord, Robert Rodriguez. It was a rent-controlled apartment, but money concerns for Rodriguez caused him to drastically increase the rent. Camden and Michael organized their neighbors to protest and presented Rodriguez with a petition. He turned off the building's heat. The residents responded by threatening to withhold rent. Rodriguez initially worked with police to find the couple, but not long after, he himself disappeared for 2 weeks. It's not known where he went, but he was later sentenced to 6 years in prison for larceny and fraud. Police definitely seemed to believe Rodriguez was behind the disappearance. After he sold the property, they tore up floorboards and searched the building with cadaver dogs, but no evidence was found. Searches in the nearby river also provided nothing. It's easy to assume Rodriguez was behind the disappearance, but the focus on the landlord may have let the real culprit escape justice, or allowed the couple to stage their own disappearance. Rodriguez had a motive, but according to a neighbor, this was an annual argument for the landlord. Michael had been renting from him for 20 years, so it seems strange such an argument would escalate to murder so quickly. Some have also argued Rodriguez wouldn't have been able to tackle Camden and Michael alone. Both were fit and healthy, so Rodriguez would have needed help to attack them. Since they headed out at such a late point in the evening, it's also possible that the couple bumped into an unknown, unsavory character. Alternatively, some speculate the couple staged their own disappearance. Little is known about Michael and Camden beside their professional careers, as performers and a real estate agent respectively. It's possible they faked documents and disappeared in order to escape some unknown problem. No evidence for any theory has been found and the couple remain missing. Number 2. It's been almost 50 years since Claude Shelton and his wife Martha set out to visit a nearby truck stop, but their 3 children are no closer to finding out what happened to them. The couple tucked their children into bed in their home at a trailer park in Kentucky. Their daughter overheard her father asking Martha if she was going with him or staying at home. They were supposed to be visiting friends for a late dinner. Sheila had never heard her mother's response, but presumably, Martha agreed to go with Claude. At around 2 a.m., they left in Claude's Ford Galaxy. The journey should have taken around 15 minutes, but witnesses at the truck stop claimed the Sheltons never arrived. When the couple weren't back in the morning, the children called a family member who called the police. Nothing seemed out of place other than the couple's absence. It definitely didn't seem like they'd abandoned their children, and the family insisted the couple wouldn't do such a thing. However, it later emerged that Martha and Claude had been saving money. They had around $600 stashed away, but after the disappearance, the money couldn't be found. Police never found any trace of the couple or their vehicle. Many assume an accident must have occurred on the journey to the truck stop. There were major bodies of water in the area at the time, but the couple would likely have crossed the shallow Laurel River. It's possible they accidentally drove into the river, but a search of the area produced nothing. Of course, it may also be the case that the couple made it to the truck stop. The stop in question was known to have been in a rather shady area with illegal gambling machines. Someone at the stop may have known more than they said at the time. There's also been no substantial leads in the case since the 1970s. Sheila and her siblings believe they passed away that night. It's no doubt that this was a nicer thought than that their parents may have run out without them. Decades later, a DNA test was performed on a Jane Doe body found 2 months after the Sheltons' disappearance. Despite the unknown woman resembling Martha, the test proved that it wasn't her. It did renew interest in the case though, but no new leads have come up. Number 1. The disappearance of Nick Macy, a recently retired banker, and his wife Lisa in 1994 is one of the most mysterious disappearances in Canadian history. Despite there being many reasons why the Macys may have vanished, there's no evidence for any theory. More than 25 years later, police still have no significant leads, and private investigators have come up with nothing. On August 11, 1994, the couple had a dinner reservation at Nick's favorite restaurant. They were supposed to meet 2 others, one of which was a man who wanted Nick's help to invest $10 million. Nobody from the party showed up. Instead, the Macys were spotted sharing a bottle of wine in a lounge next door. They were there for roughly 4 hours, from 6:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. After they left, they were never seen again. The next day, Lisa called her boss and Nick's business partner to tell them that they would be away for a few days. She gave no information about where they were going or why, and when Lisa's sister tried to contact her a week later, nobody answered. She visited the couple's Vancouver home where the front door was locked and the alarm system had been deactivated, but the car was in the driveway. She also found the couple's passports had been left behind. Strangely, 2 plastic zip ties were found outside the front door. In his role as a manager of a private banking branch at the Bank of Montreal, Nick crossed paths with a number of controversial figures. Many speculate that the couple may have had a falling out with one of these individuals. Nick was known to introduce millionaire customers to new acquaintances. One such customer was Fred Hoffman, an accountant who disappeared with millions of dollars of his clients' money. Some suggest one of the Hoffman's victims may have taken out their anger on Nick and his wife. Others suspect that Nick and Lisa staged their own disappearance. Nick had been acting oddly in the months leading up to his disappearance. His children claim he was unusually secretive over his work, and the day before he disappeared, he attended a funeral where he was distraught and told friends that he needed to leave town. But this wouldn't be the first time that they left with little notice. In April of the same year, the couple made a secret trip to the Cayman Islands. They told no one where they were going or why, but opened a bank account and deposited $50,000. The Macy's bank accounts haven't been touched since the disappearance, and their children are still searching for answers. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.